Did Jesus' earliest followers see him as God or as a prophet? What do scripture, culture, and history tell us about how the Christian movement actually began?
From the Islamic perspective, Jesus' earliest followers understood him as a prophet, a man of God, not God himself. This fits both his teachings and the historical context. Jesus lived and taught in a strictly monotheistic Jewish environment. Worshipping a man, no matter how honored, would have been considered blasphemy. The Gospel of Mark, the earliest written, presents Jesus as deeply human. He prays, expresses uncertainty, and performs miracles by God's permission. There are no claims to divinity. Instead, he's called Rabbi, Son of Man, and Prophet, titles consistent with previous messengers. As time passed, however, Greek philosophical concepts, like the divine logos, entered the narrative. By the time John's Gospel is written, decades later, we hear, "The Word was God." This shift reflects not just theology, but cultural influence, the fusion of Jewish monotheism with Hellenistic metaphysics. And what of Paul? He never met Jesus during his ministry. His letters reflect a visionary experience, not eyewitness tradition. Paul introduced language and categories that appealed to Gentiles unfamiliar with Jewish law, and his influence quickly outpaced the original Jerusalem community, which remained Torah observant and clearly did not proclaim Jesus as divine. The Qur'an restores the original message that Jesus was a messenger, not a deity, that the earliest true followers of Jesus submitted to God, not to a man, that what came later, councils, creeds, and metaphysical formulations, was not revelation, but revision.
It's often claimed that Jesus' divinity was a later invention, but the evidence shows it was believed and worshipped from the start. Paul's letters, written within 20 to 30 years of Jesus' death, include ancient creeds from the early Christian communities. These weren't Gentile inventions, they were Jewish confessions reshaped by something unprecedented. Take Philippians 2. It says Jesus existed in the form of God, yet humbled himself, and that every knee shall bow to him, directly echoing Isaiah 45, where every knee bows to Yahweh. This wasn't symbolic reverence. This was divine attribution, in the highest possible sense, from a Jewish context that never confused creator and creation. The disciples didn't worship a mere prophet. After the resurrection, Thomas addresses Jesus as my Lord and my God. Stephen, while being stoned, calls out to Jesus to receive his spirit. This wasn't politics. This wasn't Rome. This was belief, often at the cost of their lives. And yes, the earliest Christians were monotheists, but they reinterpreted their monotheism in light of the resurrection. They didn't abandon the God of Israel. They believed that in Jesus, God had acted decisively and personally. Paul didn't invent divinity, he recognized it. And the church didn't manufacture worship, it inherited it. From the start, Jesus wasn't just followed. He was revered, he was obeyed, and he was worshipped as Lord.
Elias quotes Paul as evidence, but Paul never met Jesus during his ministry. His letters reflect a visionary experience, not direct tradition, and Paul's influence reshaped early Christianity, especially in Gentile communities unfamiliar with Jewish monotheism. Philippians 2 is poetic, yes, but poetry is not a creed. Elevating someone as Lord in a devotional sense does not mean equating them with the Creator. Kings were called Lord. Prophets were revered. Worship language in early Christian texts is often ambiguous and doesn't override the core message that Jesus was sent by God. If Jesus' earliest followers, the Jewish Christians in Jerusalem, believed he was divine, why do we hear so little from them? Their tradition was overwhelmed by later Gentile interpretations, councils, and imperial backing. Islam preserves the legacy of those first believers, monotheists who followed a prophet, not a god.
Kareem suggests the original followers didn't worship Jesus, but we have direct evidence that they did. James, the brother of Jesus, called him the Lord of Glory. Peter, at Pentecost, declares God has made Jesus both Lord and Christ. These aren't Greek categories, they're Jewish affirmations in light of what they witnessed. The resurrection didn't just vindicate Jesus, it redefined how his followers understood God. They didn't switch from monotheism to polytheism. They expanded their understanding of divine identity to include the risen Christ. And when Thomas says, "My Lord and my God," he's not offering flattery. He's expressing awe at a reality no first-century Jew would fabricate lightly, that Jesus had risen from the dead and was worthy of worship.
That was just one chapter in a much bigger question. Elias and Kareem go deeper in the full debate, from miracles and the crucifixion to the Trinity, prophethood, and the Second Coming. Tap the link on your screen now to watch the full debate. Is Jesus the Son of God or a prophet? Christianity versus Islam.